How did you first meet Brad Daugherty?
We're at the racetrack in 1986, I guess. Have to check these dates. And he is graduating from UNC Tar Heels. And, we're at the racetrack,
Now,
and
he's from
Black Mountain,
Black
about
Mountain.
20 minutes away.
Right, okay.
So he comes down in the pits after a race, and I'd won, and I was not a fan favorite, okay? You loved Bob Pressley, or you loved Randy Porter. You loved Bob Pressley, or you loved, Jimmy Doyle. You loved Bob Pressley, or you loved Jack Ingram. I had no fans except my wife, because
Yeah.
a lot of Bob's fans didn't like me because of the controversy we had and said I was disrespectful and had no. So
Yeah.
I was kind of always the lone sheep. So after the race, Brad and 4 or 5 of his buddies around here come down there, and they ain't nobody around my car, and I'd won the race. And he walked up, and my brother-in-law now, huge basketball fan. Like I say, I knew nothing about any other sports.
Yeah.
It was racing's all we knew. And he walks up, and they start talking. They said, "Hey, this is Brad Daugherty." I said, "Well, hey, how you doing?" And it was small talk.
Yeah.
It was, who is this guy? I don't know who Brad Daugherty is. I don't keep up with basketball. So whenever he walked off, they said, "Hey, that's Brad Daugherty, North Carolina Tar Heel. #1 draft choice this year, going to Cleveland Cavaliers." I said, "Wow." So he come walking back by. I said, "Hey, Brad." Like I've known him my whole life, Yeah. I said, "Man, I didn't know who you was." I said, "Heck, I'm not much into basketball or anything, but God, why is somebody like you at this racetrack?" He said, "Oh, I love racing." And we got talking. Just me and him, and his buddies was looking at the race car. He said, "God, I'd like to get into this." Now, I've met him for 15 minutes. And I said, "Hey, I'm racing Greenville tomorrow night." I said, "Anytime you ever want to go to the racetrack, holler at me, okay?" He said, "Hey, I'd like to. What time y'all leave?" And I said, "We'll leave around 12 o'clock or something. We usually get out in the garage there about 10, load up and everything." He said, "Hey, I might go to Greenville with you." So they leave. We come on home. Tell my wife, I said, "Boy, wouldn't it be something if I had somebody like that to go to the racetrack with,
Yeah.
I said, "That could be sponsors right there." That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
And next morning, I never thought I'd see Brad Daugherty again except on TV.
Yeah.
Next morning, about 10:30, he pulls in the driveway at the garage. It's right beside my house. He's in a yellow Corvette convertible, and there's his head sticking out over.
Yeah.
And he's by himself, and I said, "Hey." He said, "Am I too early to go to the race?" And he rode the racetrack with me, and that was his life until he went to Cleveland, in October for training. And as soon as basketball was over in March, April with pro ball, he was right back to Asheville, go to every racetrack we went to. We become buddies, and that leads up there to about 1988. We're coming back from Greenville Pickens, and we'd won like different numbers is, you look at it, and we didn't race every week, but we won like 31 in a row there. And we got ambushed coming home one night, me and Brad and another guy.
Where at?
Coming up Saluda Mountain out of Greenville, South Carolina home. And I got home, and I said,
Now, you got ambushed. What?
A guy threw the tire through the window of our truck coming up the mountain and pointed the gun out through there and shot up, above the cab of the truck. It was more or less a warning. You come back to Greenville, you're going to face some consequences. Well, next week was funny. We had enough ammunition in that truck. We went for war.
Not.
And went down there, and it was the last time I ever went to Greenville. No trouble down there. We won the race coming home. And I told Brad and my wife, we got back, his girlfriend's here, and I said, "You know what? I'm reminiscing of 20 years ago, basically, of what I went through with Daddy, watching that you can't do anything. I'm fixing to have my first son, Coleman, and I said, I'm not going to do this. And we sat down there in the house that night, 2 o'clock in the morning. Brad said, Robert, you can't quit, but you're too good to be right here. I just won the Mid-Atlantic region for the second time, won the Greenville championship, had won the Asheville championship for the 4th or 5th straight year in a row. And, you know, we'd won at Concord, Anderson, and everything, just going different places. He said, let's build a Busch car. I said, oh, in this garage?
Yeah.
He said, I'll help you. I'll get us some money. So I sold my late model stuff, built a Busch car, and 1989 went out, run some of the tracks there, Hickory, South Boston, Lanier, Georgia, Indianapolis, and we run great. But something always fell off the race car. We was not prepared to run 200 lap races. You know, there's a difference of your regular 50 lap races every week. Jack Ingram come by my garage, and him and Daddy's rival, and Jack had helped me through the year only to beat Daddy. He agitated me because this was Jack's way to get at Daddy. He said, Robert, let me tell you what, you're a good race car driver, but you got to finish these races. Now, let me tell you what you do, and if you know Jack Ingram, when he gets in your face and starts telling you what to do.
Yeah, you listen. Yeah.
He said, where are you going to go? And I said, well, I think I'm going to go to Charlotte and try to make the race. He said, you don't need to be at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let me tell you what you need to do. You need to get this race car in here. You need to get these boys to work on this car and get ready. We got Hickory, South Boston, Orange County coming up. If you'll go down there and finish a race and look good, he said, you'll have an opportunity. Don't just go to every race to say you're there. We missed a couple races, went through that car all the way. Jack come by, done a little bit, went to Orange County, August of 1989, and won the race.
Yeah, you did.
What was special about the race was winning at Chapel Hill with Brad Daugherty, Joe Wolf, played at Carolina, and all them. And Monday morning, get back home, I think it paid $8,800, which was good money in '89. And got 3 phone calls from different owners. C.C. Wellifer, the 34 car, because Spencer was going to move around. And then Alliance had called me where I ended up at, and then this other guy wanting to start a team. And I thought, if I'd known it was that easy, all you had to do is win, and they would be calling you and not looking for sponsor money anymore.
Yeah.
So through the week, I said, hey, Brad, listen, man, I know me and you started this race team, but I've got opportunity to go drive for other people. But you the one that brought me here, and I want to make sure, you know, he said, listen here, Robert, I ain't spending my money all my life on these race cars.
Yeah.
You get an opportunity.
Yeah.
So we went and run 2 more races that year with my car with the Alliance name, and then we rebuilt Alliance because they was an ARCA team, and I talked them into running Busch Grand National. And we went out and, you know, a lot of success in the Busch Grand National the 3 years I was with them.
I want to go back a little bit to the deal coming back from Greenville and the shooting and everything. Yeah. And you, how close were you to quitting?
Oh, if Brad Daugherty had not said, I will financially help us build a Busch car, I was to the point I was done. Because, like I say, my son was getting ready to be born. I was not going to bring my family up through that. And whenever Brad said Busch, that meant I wouldn't be racing Asheville, Hickory, Greenville, local. Yeah. Because, like I said earlier, I didn't have no fans here. But once I went Busch Grand National Racing, I got people coming around the garage, oh yeah, I pulled for you, you know, and I said, hey, I remember seeing you booing me up there whenever I wrecked Daddy and everything.
Yeah.
So it was like all of a sudden, everybody that did not like the Presleys, or everybody that did like the Pressley of Bob Pressley, I got such a huge fan base around here that everybody, we're family now, or, hey, Robert, you need anything, I can help you. That's why I've always stayed here in Asheville, North Carolina, because this is home to me. I didn't want to be in an area in Charlotte where I couldn't be myself, get out here on the farm tractor, or get out here and do what I want to. I was secluded here, and I did not want to move. And when the Harry Gant retirement come, just right out the road was a Skull Bandit team, and that's why I chose to go there.
Now, the alliance deal with that team, was that a continuation of the team that you and Brad had started, or was that a completely separate operation?
Completely separate operation. They had a ARCA team with Johnny McFadden driving.
Okay, all right.
And
isn't that based close to here?
Right here, right beside the Skull Bandit shop, a mile away from where. So see, I had my race team here, I had my Alliance team here, I had my Skull Bandit team, so I didn't have to go to Charlotte. I kept Asheville going. And Banjo Matthews was here. But the Alliance team, they wanted me to run ARCA. So the deal I made with them, I'll sign a contract with you. We signed the contract. We got everything done, all the lawyers done. So then I sat down with the owner and I said, hey, have y'all thought about running Busch Grand National? Oh, yeah, but we want to stay in ARCA because we want to go cup racing. That's our goal, is to go cup racing, and I think you can help us get there. I said, okay. I said, where's ARCA race at? And they started naming some of the ARCA races. Oh, now y'all have got a tractor trailer training place in McDonough, Georgia, next to Atlanta, right? Yeah. You got one in Withville, Virginia, next to Pulaski, Virginia, right? You got one in Asheville that's right here near Hickory Speedway, and got one in Lebanon at the Nashville Speedway. Boy, wouldn't it be smart that we could tie that in to them race, because that's where the Busch Grand National cars race at.
Yeah.
Wow. Let us, you know what? Well, we ain't got no Busch cars. I said, well, I happen to have one. So we go the very next week and order 2 brand new Banjo Matthew Busch cars that Jack Ingram, Larry Pearson, and them was getting at the time. And whenever we run our first race at Daytona in a brand new car, they never, ever wanted to go ARCA or cup racing after that. They found that at that time that, man, they was serving what they was. And people wanting to learn to drive tractor trailers, their business just skyrocketed. And whenever you hear the sponsorship versus what can NASCAR do for you, they was a prime example of how they marketed the training center. And I remember whenever we went to Hickory, and it was a second or third race a year, they're in the tractor trailer training business. So we was the first Busch Grand National team to have a tractor trailer. And they said we couldn't park it at Hickory Speedway. Well, they got a hold of NASCAR and said, they say we can't bring it in here. Well, no, you're not going to be able to bring them in these short tracks. Well, there's not room in the pit. And said, hey, do you think it looks good that we're spending all this money on racing and NASCAR to be pulling with a dually, but we're teaching people to drive a tractor trailer?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, we'll make sure we got spots there.
Yeah.
And, within a year, everybody started leaving the king of the road toter homes, and here come the tractor trailers in. So
it's all your fault.
Yeah, it was all Daniel Welch's fault. I'm saying that, they were still cup teams that still had, Dave Marcus had the bread truck, we called it, and some of the J.D. McDuffie's. And here all of a sudden the Busch starts going. And, hey, if you ain't got a tractor trailer, you ain't nothing in this sport,